out to a new terror attack targeting Westerners. This time in Bangladesh, ISIS is claiming responsibility. Attackers armed with guns and bombs storming a restaurant in the diplomatic district, taking at least 20 hostages. Police officers are known to be among the dead. ABC's Alex Marquardt has the latest.
SWAT teams tonight surrounding the cafe with around 20 hostages inside, many believed to be foreigners. Police telling ABC News 2 have now been rescued. But up to 9 gunmen have stormed the restaurant, which is in a diplomatic neighborhood just a mile from the American embassy. U.S. citizens warned to shelter in place.
We're still accounting for all private American citizens who may have been in the area. We don't have finality on that.
The attackers exchanged fire with security forces. At least 2 police officers were killed and dozens wounded. A short time later, ISIS claimed responsibility. Last year, a prominent American Bangladeshi blogger was hacked to death. In April, a U.S. embassy worker was murdered, part of a recent wave of violent Islamic extremist attacks across Bangladesh, fueled by the barbaric ideology of ISIS spreading around the world.
Heavily armed police are on patrol at Chicago's O'Hare Airport. Canine units bolster security at Los Angeles International Airport. There is enhanced police presence in key locations across the country. In New York City, a new class of more than 1,200 officers was sworn in to complement the NYPD's anti-terror squad. Police Commissioner William Bratton.
This year they are here, fully trained, fully equipped. The name of the game in dealing with terrorist threats as citizen crime is to prevent to the greatest degree possible.
Federal officials say there are no credible or specific threats this 4th of July weekend. Still, according to the Department of Homeland Security, federal officials remain concerned about terrorist-inspired individuals and homegrown violent extremists who may be encouraged or inspired to target public events or places. San Bernardino, Paris, Brussels, and Orlando demonstrate that terrorists will consider a wide selection of targets. But the attack in Turkey serves as a reminder that transportation hubs like train stations and airports remain a security priority. LAX is preparing for a record 1.2 million travelers. The first level of security begins well before the screening machines. Patrick Gannon is the airport's chief of police.
Our first layer is always intelligence. We also have perimeter units that are in the area. We have officers assigned to each of our terminals. But one of the messages I always put out is that we need everybody's help.
Law enforcement is reminding the public that if they see something, say something. Josh, airlines are warning customers to be prepared for longer wait times at airport security checkpoints.
Potential terrorist, high IQ, white-collar criminal. New computer technology can scan their faces and detect character traits within seconds. Israeli startup Faceception works on the theory that DNA determines personality, which is reflected in our faces. The company's technology draws results within seconds. Seemingly, it's an ideal screening tool in airports or at mass gatherings like Olympic Games.
Since 2012, we've been registering asylum seekers and refugees in Jordan using biometric technology. We do iris scanning, which is about 10 times as accurate as fingerprinting. We do an assessment of the family. And once that eligibility criteria is met, they can go to our partner bank, and without any additional enrollment, they go up to an ATM machine, they scan their eye, no card, no PIN.
بس بنت العين منيحة بروح فورا بحط عيني وبسحب المصاري.
We are 100% sure that the money that we provide to refugees reaches the refugees most in need. This is the most efficient. We can get cash within 24 hours to refugees. It's completely secure, and probably one of the most important things is reinforces the dignity of the refugee.
اي يعني تحسن اخر فتره انه صرت هيك اجيب له شويه اواعي يعني تحسنت شوي هيك وصاروا يشتركوا مع رفقاتهم بالفطور الجماعي وهيك يعني او رحله او شيء يعني صرت يعني البي لهم طلباتهم شوي احسسهم انه مثلهم مثل رفقاتهم بالمدرسه.
Heavy rains, those storms in Las Vegas overnight.
Yeah, this isn't over. The Mountain West is about to blow up with monsoon flow again. So let me go ahead and show you. You put 1.22 inches of rain, make it fall in 15 minutes, and this is what's going to happen. Flash flooding, inundated parking lots right near the Strip. And again, it's all happening at this hour.
Officials here are calling that rain event triggering that flooding unprecedented. It sent water surging through canals like this, as we heard earlier, at 30 miles per hour. Trapping motorists and forcing swift water rescues.
Overnight, nearly a dozen water rescues right outside Las Vegas. A ladder team pulling these two teenagers to safety after they found themselves stranded in a drainage canal. Nevada besieged by thunderstorms Thursday and up to 2 inches of hail, blanketing the ground with what looked like snow in July, all of it generating epic flash floods.
Oh my God!
Wreaking havoc on tourists. The quick-moving storms turning this intersection into whitewater rapids.
I cannot believe this.
Trapping drivers, turning some parking lots into lagoons. The surge of water inundating canals, turning underpasses into waterfalls.
Oh my God, oh my God!
Trash bins and debris floating into cars, plowing through the wall of water. Authorities saying some of that water reaching speeds of 30 miles per hour.
Now we talk about how much water was built up by that monsoon rain. One key water detention area around here got 22 feet of water. That's higher than where I'm standing compared to that canal. But some good news for tourists visiting Las Vegas this weekend. It's going to be hot and much drier in the forecast.
Parts of Florida this morning are under a state of emergency that caused toxic algae. Some people along the Treasure Coast blame water from Florida's biggest lake. The Army Corps of Engineers plans to cut its flow by about 35%. Omar Villafranca shows us how the holiday weekend will be affected. He is at a beach in Stuart, Florida. Omar, good morning.
Good morning. Usually the water here is clear and blue at Bathtub Beach, but it's got a little bit of a greenish tint. And let me show you what this stuff looks like up close. Inside, you can see some of those green globules floating around, and this algae is dangerous to people. That's why many of the beaches around here will be closed for the busy 4th of July weekend.
The goopy blue-green algae blooms have turned many southeast Florida waterways into a thick, poisonous soup.
It's just putrid. I mean, it just gags you.
Would you swim in this?
No way, I wouldn't even put my foot in it.
Irene Gomes, owner of the Driftwood Motel in Jensen Beach, says the blooms are the worst she's ever seen and scaring away her customers.
How much business have you lost in the last few days?
Well, just from one group of relatives that were coming in together, it was $1,000.
Florida Governor Rick Scott declared a state of emergency in Palm Beach, Lee, Martin, and St. Lucie counties. He blamed water released from Lake Okeechobee, the largest freshwater body in the state. The lake has high levels of phosphorus and nitrogen from fertilizer, animal feed, and human waste, nutrients that algae thrive on. Okeechobee also has a deadly history of flooding and is kept in check by an aging earthen dike. To reduce pressure on the levee, the Army Corps of Engineers must drain some of the lake water into the St. Lucie estuary, one of the areas now inundated by the algae.
Cutting back the flows might allow some of the salt water to come in and maybe flush things out just a little bit.
Some experts say the outbreak can also be traced to septic tanks and rainwater runoff along the Florida coast. Also known as cyanobacteria, the algae occurs naturally. But in huge concentrations, the tiny organisms are deadly to fish and other wildlife.
Clean out your nose, buddy.
This manatee was choking on the bloom.
It's pathetic. It really is to sit there and see an animal just being poisoned to death, basically.
Pretty cool clouds here in Poland. Look at those guys. Yeah, it's like a rainbow cloud or something like that, right? That is actually generally referred to as a fire rainbow, is what you hear it most often called. And you may not know what you're looking at when you first look at that, but luckily I'm here to explain it a little bit. It's actually really simple. Anytime you look up in the sky and you see like a rainbow type of effect with either clouds, or sometimes you don't even see the clouds, you'll see like maybe a sun halo, that means you have ice crystals really high up in the atmosphere. Okay, so you've got these cumulus clouds here. Those are pretty low, but these are wispy cirrus clouds. Those are way up. Those are like 30 to 40,000 feet up in the air. And very often with those, you get these hexagon-shaped ice crystals. And the way that the fire rainbow, if you want to call it that, forms is if those ice crystals are aligned vertically. then when the light refracts through them, you end up kind of with this prism effect. So you end up with a rainbow on the other side, and I think it looks really awesome.
Leviathan cross, or a Satan cross, and it was spray painted on a Catholic chapel at Seattle University this week, along with the words "Satan is here." Well, tonight, police are hoping that somebody recognizes the 3 suspects accused of spreading the satanic message of hate after they were caught on video. Take a look at the 3 suspects as they walk towards the chapel at 1:27 a.m. on Tuesday. The first one is slim, with a light complexion and wearing a baggy hoodie with a Vans logo on it. The second has a medium complexion, also slim, and wearing a backpack, a baggy hoodie, denim pants, and white sneakers. And the third guy has a dark complexion with a medium build, and he was wearing a light-colored ski hat with the poof ball on top, a dark t-shirt with a dark vest over it, baggy denim shorts cut off below the knee, and he's carrying what looks like a can of spray paint.
You watch the video, you'll see him kind of disappear out of sight. This is when the graffiti is taking place.
If you look closely, you can see some movement, and that's where police say the suspects are painting an upside-down cross, and Satan is here on the wall. These photos of the graffiti were taken by campus security, who started cleaning the words with paint remover to protect the students from the heinous defacement of their chapel.
This is about as close to what I'd refer to a hate crime as I could possibly say.
The case is unusual because police say vandals like these don't usually venture this far into campus.
These aren't normal graffiti signs. They're very specific in what was said. So that tells me that it's a targeted crime against the Catholic faith and the university itself.
Well, a battle is brewing over what ads should be allowed on bus benches. Across Colorado Springs, dozens of benches have these words on them: Jesus is Lord. But now City Public Works is in the process of reevaluating that advertising policy for its religious message after it got a complaint. Now, the pastor who started the campaign is now threatening the city with a free speech lawsuit.
There's a lot of messages in the city that I'm opposed to personally, but I don't complain because I understand this is the United States of America.
Well, the church was told it can still advertise on benches, and no ads will be taken down just yet. But for now, no new benches containing language such as Jesus is Lord will be permitted.
Pope Francis and Karakin II led an ecumenical meeting in prayer for peace from the Republic Square in Yerevan on Saturday afternoon. The Pope addressed the faithful of the Armenian Apostolic Church as brothers and stressed that the goal of this ecumenical meeting was not a simple exchange of ideas, but to seek unity.
Pope Francis said unity is not concerned with strategic advantages sought out of mutual self-interest. Rather, it is what Jesus requires of his disciples, who are called to lay aside rigid opinions in the name of humble love, putting aside suspicion and mistrust. Beneath the gaze of Mount Ararat, where tradition says Noah's Ark came to rest after the flood, Pope Francis recalled once more the Metzia Kern, the great evil, which remains impressed in our memory and burns in our hearts. He expressed his hope that it might be remembered as a perennial warning lest the world fall back into the maelstrom of similar horrors. This land, the Pope said, dotted with crosses of stone and bathed in the blood of innocents, shows that even the greatest pain, transformed by the saving power of the cross, can become a seed of peace for the future. He continued, "We would all benefit from efforts to lay the foundations of a future that will resist being caught up in the illusory power of vengeance, a future of constant efforts to create the conditions for peace."